Our suspicions are correct, Falcons fans. Welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. According to Josh Kendall, a writer for The Athletic, and Jeff Howe, the Atlanta Falcons are expected to release Kirk Cousins before March 13th, which would be the last day of free agency. Now, again, this is not something that is necessarily new to us. I mean, it is new information that it's being confirmed that they're expected to move on from him, but we kind of figured after the restructuring of the deal that the Atlanta Falcons were trying to clear up cap space and allow Kirk Cousins to safely and reasonably search out a new team in free agency. By the way, the guy that wrote this article that was released today, his name is Josh Kendall, and he is a beat writer for the Atlanta Falcons. That is his day job. So in case you were questioning the validity of this article, that is very, very valid. I trust his work. He's not putting out clickbait stuff. But like I said, we expected this. I thought right after the initial restructuring of the deal came out that there was a shot that Kirk Cousins could come back, and you'll see also later on in this episode why the idea is not completely dead, but it's definitely on life support. So after restructuring his deal, he was pretty much done. Can we all agree on that? Like, you don't get $68 million if you're still on the roster on March 13th, because that's the, deal of the contract. That's what he renegotiated for, was that if he is still on the roster on March 13th, he gets $68 million. Well, you think the Falcons want to pay $68 million to Kirk Cousins? Let's be so for real at this. They're not going to do that. So, obviously, with the opening of Kirk and the cap space for free agency, we can reasonably assume that Kirk will no longer be on the Falcons in 2026. This is, of course, why you subscribe, though. Every single bit of Falcons news, every Falcons rumor, every time we go live, no matter what the case may be, we cover it for you right here on Falcons Today. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, click that bell icon, select the all option. Here is an excerpt from Josh Kendall's article. Quarterback Kirk Cousins has 2 years remaining on his contract, but is expected to be released in early March after Atlanta restructured his contract so that he will be owed $68 million if he's on the roster on March 13th. Cousins could be released and then re-signed, that's important to note, if he doesn't find a better option elsewhere. That's also an important note. And the Falcons are interested in bringing him back on a less expensive contract. Well, here's what I can pretty much guarantee you. Number one, there are going to be interested teams in Kirk Cousins. There are a few teams on this list right here that believe they are one quarterback away from being legitimate contenders, and Kirk would be that savvy veteran option for them. Minnesota Vikings, which obviously he has, a pre-existing history with. We don't know if J.J. McCarthy is going to be the guy. The Jets, the Cardinals are both looking for quarterbacks. The Houston Texans is very, very interesting if they decide to move on from C.J. Stroud and trade him. And the Miami Dolphins, who have Tua Tagovailoa sitting on that bench right now, he's pretty much done as well. So here's 5 teams right off the bat that Kirk could sign with immediately. So take that for what it's worth. I do think that Kirk, well, he did finish the year well. We all kind of knew that Kirk's time was done. When they named Penix the starter at the end of last year and then rode with him as the starter for this year, you kind of felt like maybe we overpaid for Kirk. Maybe the injury didn't necessarily help out, his case, and then hiding his injury also didn't really help his case. The truth is that I like Kirk. I think Kirk's a good guy. I didn't agree with a lot of his decisions to request trades, even though it is the best for his career. When you're on the team, you do what's best for the team. He came in like a professional. He won a couple of games down the stretch. We thank him for his time here, but let's be honest, this wasn't the very best move the Falcons made. Point blank. It just wasn't. If the choice, though, is to bring in a veteran this season on a much cheaper deal to back up Michael Penix, you can find someone who's a hell of a lot cheaper than Kirk Cousins. That's another reason why I don't think he's going to come back. Because let's be so for real about this, Falcons fans. There are plenty of guys that are around the exact same age as Kirk that aren't going to cost $68 million. Joe Flacco, who played under Kevin Stefanski, probably looking for a home. Tyrod Taylor, quarterback for the Jets right now, Russell Wilson, Tyler Huntley. All of these, by the way, are free agents, unrestricted free agents, where they can sign anywhere their hearts desire. So I think you'll probably see someone like Flacco, someone like Tyrod, someone like Jameis, someone like Tyler Huntley end up backing up Michael Penix Jr. for the 2026 season. Speaking of Penix, though, what does this mean for Michael Penix Jr.? Because this is clearly and obviously a sign that Penix is going to be your QB1 starter for the 2026 season, at least to start the year. I'll explain a little bit more coming up here in just a second. Before that, though, let me tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks. The big game is right around the corner. Patriots versus Seahawks. Can't believe the season is at the very end of our tenure. But if you want to cash in on the very largest sporting event in the United States, you got to close out the football season the right way with Prize Picks, where you get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. They got a brand new feature alert. They now have early payouts, meaning if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Speaking of lineups, I've got a nice little 4-pick flex play. Try saying that 5 times fast. Drake May on the max discount play, obviously more than half a passing yard. Got Jackson Smith and Jigba in there, as well as Ramondre Stevenson. Yours can look like this. It doesn't have to. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. So Penix is now quarterback 1 again. Okay, good to know. I figured, and I said in an episode yesterday, that if Michael Penix Jr. was healthy, he was going to be your starter. We knew that. However, I do believe that the leash on Michael Penix is way shorter, and I'll explain a little bit coming up here in just a moment. But the reasons that you keep Michael Penix Jr. are pretty simple. First of all, the draft stock in him. You drafted him 8th overall in 2024. That's still very much in play. He's only started 12 games for the Atlanta Falcons. So you kind of have to see what you got. You got to give him at least 17 full starts, right? Can't we all agree on that? He also has not worked with an offensive head coach. Raheem Morris was a defensive guy, and Zach Robinson was a chud. So not a lot of development there from Zach Robinson. And, of course, he's younger and cheaper than Kirk Cousins. Excuse me, my phone is ringing right now in my pocket, so I have to at least turn that off for right now. I think it might be an Amber Alert, actually. It is. I was right about that. Holy cow. But anyway, back to my original point. I digress a little bit. Obviously, for all 3 of these reasons, you have to roll with Penix at least week 1. However, there is a big, old, fat booty butt in here. And no, I'm not talking about this butt right here, which is very, very nice. I am talking about the butt. Michael Penix Jr. is not guaranteed for the entire year. The short leash is definitely right around this area. And we know that because it should be common knowledge that Penix's leash is much shorter now than in the last couple of years. He's got to perform. And the reason for that, and most obvious reason for that, is because Kevin Stefanski and Ryan didn't draft Michael Penix Jr. They didn't. They've got no allegiance to Michael Penix Jr. None. That was T. Fott. That was Raheem Morris. They didn't need to go out and draft Michael Penix Jr. They didn't choose Michael Penix Jr. The injuries are also a huge concern. The regression in Zach's offense, by the way, is also something of note. Penix didn't get better under Zach Robinson. And he's notably bad against the blitz. You can't argue that, by the way. That's just the numbers. Go look at any QB chart. Go look at any number. Go look at any PFF stat. No matter where you want to check how he fares against the blitz, he's bad. He's bad. Oh, yeah, and there's another reason for this as well. In 2027, the draft will be loaded with quarterback talent. So, basically, I think you got 1 year if you're Michael Penix Jr. You've got 1 year to at least show us that you're capable of being the franchise guy. Because there are 5 dudes I can guarantee you are going to have massive, and I mean massive, draft stock hype, no matter what you want to call it. They've got all of that just kind of building into the 2027 season. Who are those 5 quarterbacks? C.J. Carr, Arch Manning, Sam Levitt, Jaden Mayava, DJ Lagway. It's also the perfect year, by the way, to not draft a quarterback if you're the Falcons in 2026 because you don't have a first-round pick. So if you do have a first-round pick, you could spend it on any one of these 5 guys if Michael Penix doesn't pan out. So that's why I firmly believe Michael Penix will get until Thanksgiving of next year, which would be what, roughly 10, 11 weeks starting, if I'm doing the math correct on my schedule. Probably 10 to 11 starts, which would give him roughly 22 to 23 starts in the NFL. I think that's more than enough time to adequately decide if somebody can play or if they can't play. Maybe it doesn't tell the entire story of their career trajectory, but it does give you an idea of what they are right now. So take that with a grain of salt. Take that for what you will. How many games will Michael Penix get to show his stuff? Let me know in the comment section down below. That's all I got for you guys on today's episode. A reminder to hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button as well. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and rumors surrounding your Dirty Birds. I'm going to make a nice long video for you guys tomorrow. A little free agents video for you tomorrow. As always, rise up and be cool.